with your host, Megan. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! No! You guys don't stop! You guys are gonna embarrass me. Okay, guys. We gotta calm it down. Stop. Okay. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Why am I looking around like there's actually an audience? Okay, hold on. Let me get cozy before I introduce what I'm about to say. I have a little blanket. I have a hot water bottle. Let me have a sip of my hot chocolate. It just spilled on my new wet rug. Okay, we'll just rub it in. You'll never notice it was there. Yeah, hello everybody, and welcome to my new series on my channel called TELLURIC Talks. I wanted to have my first episode be about loneliness and why it's okay to feel lonely and just ways to make yourself feel better, because I think there's a big stigma around loneliness, and I really think that this video could help some people just feel a little bit better. So that's why I wanted it to be my first topic for this sort of podcast show, whatever you want to call it. So I should probably just introduce why I'm making this series, and then I'll go into the topic for today. So if you just want to jump straight to that and you have no interest in what I'm about to say, and just jump, the time is right here. But I am going to be making a series that I'm gonna post maybe like once a month, once every 6 weeks. Like, I really don't know at this point. I just wanted a space where I could talk about anything and everything, things that I find really interesting, or topics that I really want to dive into that I feel like wouldn't really make sense to post in a vlog or a what I eat in a day video. And I called it TELLURIC Talks because I just don't want to stick on one subject, and I was trying to find synonyms for like earth or everything. So telluric means relating to or of earth. So I just thought it was the perfect name because we can essentially talk about everything because it's going to be relating to or of the earth. So I don't know if that's the proper way to use that word, but that's what I'm going with. So because I didn't want this podcast to simply just be about my opinions and my experience and yada, because I'm 28 years old. I have experience with life, but I'm not like some wisdom guru person authority on this topic. So I asked you guys a couple questions on Instagram to answer, and I was genuinely shocked by just the amount of people that feel lonely. I'll just read some of them. So somebody said very rarely, someone said a lot, almost every day. Someone else said almost every day for the past few years of my life. 90% of the time, a couple times a week, most of the time. The question is, how often am I not lonely that I can count? Farah says all the time, especially when I'm alone in my room, the loneliness can make me want to faint. I had more people say they were than they weren't. And I asked a couple of like my friends in real life. They were even saying, I feel lonely a lot too, or I feel lonely sometimes. With this topic, we can feel alone in feeling lonely, but it's shocking just how many people feel the same as you. That's why I wanted to talk about this, because I've had a lot of experience being lonely, having nobody to hang out with, because during COVID I moved up north to go to uni and I didn't know anyone here and I couldn't go out and I couldn't meet anybody. And then when I did meet people in school, when the restrictions were taken off, there was a big age gap between me and the students because I'm quite older. So I found it really hard to connect to people and make friends. I felt quite embarrassed and quite ashamed because I felt like people would think or assume things about me or think I'm some sort of red flag. I don't talk about it with other people because I can feel people feeling pity for me, and I felt quite alone in feeling lonely. Okay, so first of all, what is loneliness? And why is there like this sudden uptick in people feeling lonely? In the UK, apparently there's 3 to 7% of people who have described themselves as being lonely or feeling lonely. That is literally millions of people when you think about it. Like 3% of how many people live in the UK? Like over 60 million. That's a lot of people. So loneliness is different from solitude. You don't have to be alone to feel lonely. Like, you can have friends, you can be around people all the time, but if you're not like connecting with people, or you feel listened to or heard, you can wind up feeling lonely because you're not having true connections with people. Versus like feeling alone, you can feel alone and you can feel in solitude, but that's more of like a state of being rather than a feeling, if that makes sense. So somebody could be alone and have no issue with being alone, or actually like being on their own. I was actually really surprised by that, to be honest. People that I know in real life that have a lot of friends, you can kind of look on the outside and see what people post on Facebook or Instagram, and there's just overall like having better lives or having more fun, etc, etc. But I've spoken to people and they've even told me like, I feel lonely in my group. Like I don't feel I really connect with anybody. And I just feel like social media creates such a facade. And maybe that's why a lot of people feel lonely and feel like negative feelings, because we are seeing what people post all the time, who they're hanging out with. Not even people that we know in real life, like people from all around the world because we follow them on Instagram, you know, influencers and stuff. So there's just like this constant bombardness of everybody else is having this amazing social life except for you. You're the only one that has like one friend or no friends, and etc, etc. So yeah, for instance, myself, when I first moved to my apartment that was near the university, I was going through like feelings of being separated from my then boyfriend at the time. There were a lot of periods where I did feel really lonely. I was really sad because I didn't have anyone to talk to, like physically. I didn't have anyone to go out with. The only ones that I had around me were my pet chameleon and my pet snake. And that was a very lonely period, like constant negative feelings that influenced how I felt about myself. Whereas now I'm always alone pretty much, but I don't feel lonely. I mean, I do sometimes, but I don't feel it as often. I feel just like I'm in solitude. It's really a mindset. Not saying that feeling loneliness is okay and that you should just accept it and accept your situation. Like if you feel lonely, that's really your body's way of telling you that this really isn't normal, because we as humans, we are social creatures. Like we need to be around other people. We need connections. If you're feeling lonely, it's your body's way of saying like, hey, this isn't good. Like we need to do something about this. So I'm not saying that to accept your situation, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult to change a situation. For instance, if you're in the middle of COVID during a lockdown, you're really gonna find it difficult to connect with people physically. So I'm just like interested, like why people have been feeling an increase in loneliness. So I tried to look this up online, and sorry I'm looking at my phone so much. It's probably gonna be so annoying watching this video, but I wrote a couple comments down here. Okay, if it's not just always about being alone, is it to do with social media? Like I mentioned, constantly seeing people doing things or hanging out with people that can make you feel, why don't I have that? Like what's different about me? Is it because of parasocial relationships? Do you think because of the rise of influencers and being able to watch people and follow their lives and stuff? Like do you think that makes people feel lonelier because like again they compare? Or maybe way back in the old days, like in the 90s or like the 80s, instead of following people, watching people on social media when they're bored, they would have to instead like go out and do something. Is it because of technology? Like is it just easier to not see people? Like you don't even have to leave your house to order food. Remember, the only places that you could ever get delivery when I was like a teenager was pizza. If you wanted McDonald's, or if you wanted like something else, like you would have had to physically go out, get the McDonald's, and then come back home. Like now you can literally order everything and anything, and even your groceries. Like you don't have to see anybody. Like it's sort of like an introvert dream. Does the pandemic maybe have something to do with it? I think there was a hard reset in how people viewed life in general during the pandemic, that maybe people cut off people that they felt were no longer healthy in their lives, and they just felt life was too short. So then I asked you guys, do you ever feel lonely around your friends or groups of people? And I just wanted to see what you guys had to say. Some people said yes, 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 that's why I don't hang out with them anymore. Yes, even surrounded by people, I can feel even more lonely than when I'm by myself. Someone said no, only with the wrong group of friends, at work for example. Sometimes because I disassociate from my surroundings. Actually, I saw someone else say that too. Maybe not lonely, but distant, disassociated. Maybe that's like issues with being mindful. Meditation is something that I feel has helped me become more present. I've also felt like that too, like when you're with people and you just feel like maybe anxious or so hard to connect when you just don't feel like you're really there. That's the weirdest feeling in the world. Not anymore, picked better friends. Ooh. Sometimes I feel like I'm not at the same level they are and I feel excluded. What if our feelings are telling us something? Like, you know, if you're not feeling connected to people, maybe there's a reason for that and your body is just letting you know. Like, if you feel lonely around people, maybe it's something that you are personally struggling with. Like, maybe you're struggling with anxiety, not being able to feel comfortable, maybe you have an imposter syndrome, or maybe the people just aren't the right fit for you and you're not realizing and you're just not clicking properly. No one really listens. Yes, whoever said that, I can't say your name because you didn't put your name there. I'm keeping you anonymous. But yes, I feel like that's such a big one. It's like sometimes when you're with people, they never ask you any questions. Like, you're asking them questions, you're asking how their day is going, you're asking them like how they feel. When it comes down to you talking, sometimes people don't really listen to what you're saying. Like, they don't feel present. They don't like pay attention. But then again, I feel like it's really important to realize that sometimes you could be talking to someone and they may have social anxiety. Like, they may not be comfortable looking you in the eye, or they sort of seem dismissive, but they're not. Somebody says, living situation, living far away from long-term friends and struggling to make new. Yes, you may as well just put that in my mouth, because literally when you're in high school or elementary school or college, like, you just don't realize how easy it is to make friends, because literally everybody's in the same boat as you. You see them every single day. It's just very easy. And then when you become an adult, it's really difficult because you don't have that constant exposure to each other, like other people. Like, you actually have to work to make friends. But also too, with university, I find like it's really easy to not be exposed to people all the time unless you like are in a club or you go partying, because it's quite independent as well. So don't feel bad if you don't make friends in university easily, because I actually think it's quite hard. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, so there's a big stigma around feeling lonely. So I asked you guys, do you view people who are lonely or have no friends as red flags? And if so, why? A lot of people said no. A lot of people were saying like, no, because I'm like that, I can understand, or, you know, sometimes it's situational, yada, yada, yada. Other people said I would because I wonder why they haven't let anyone close. Someone said, who am I to judge? No, unless their behavior reflects the reason why they're lonely. So I feel like we've all come across somebody who is a little crazy toxic and kind of starts drama, and you realize, okay, maybe that's why people don't want to hang out with you. But like with other people, it's really not anything to do with their personality. It's more to do with just their situation, right? Like, some people are just not around people they're clicking with. I know people who don't have a lot of friends and they're like the most beautiful, sweetest people that like are just so fun to be around, and you're just like, oh my god, I wish this person had like more people around them that were like them, because they would just have so many friends. Like, okay, so if I just look a little bit different, like if my hair looks flat right now out of nowhere, that's just because I took an hour break because my battery died. When you're someone who's experiencing a lot of loneliness or you have no friends, it's really easy to just accept anybody as a friend, and you can sometimes force relationships. I've been guilty of that, sadly. So I went on this field trip with school, and because it was still around COVID time, we were forced into these COVID bubbles that we had to spend time with, sleep with, and eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner with. So we were with them the entire duration of our field trip, which lasted over a week. And I just remember I was with these 3 girls who were already friends, and there was 4 of us, and I was like the odd one out. I could just tell they didn't like me. And it was such like a very, I can't really describe it. It was probably one of the most humiliating feelings, because I was putting myself out there and trying so hard to impress these people simply because I was really lonely, and obviously like I just wanted to connect with someone while I was there. I realized like no matter how hard you try, no matter how funny you try to like be interested in people's lives, etc, etc, but if they just don't like you, then they're not vibing with you. If you guys don't connect, like it's just not gonna happen. And I learned that the hard way. Like, I went home and I just cried because I was like, I tried so hard to be friends with these people and they still didn't like me. And it was such a big life lesson. I never shared that on the vlog, but it was a huge moment. I would rather be happy on my own than be with a group of people and try to fit in. Like, it's seriously not worth it. There's a really good quote by, I think, Oprah. I don't know where Oprah got this quote from, but it's luck is preparation, meeting opportunity. For instance, you could be lonely right now or maybe not have a lot of friends or people that you're connecting with, but you won't get lucky if you don't try to do the inner work and try to be the best person that you can be. Because if you're somebody who is always feeling really negative, or like when you meet new people you just sort of think, oh well, what's the point of trying to make friends with people, I know I'm not gonna fit in anyways, or I know I'm not gonna belong, etc, etc. If these sort of negative beliefs can really hold you back and it can drain your confidence and what you think of yourself. Once you start working on who you are and you make sure that like you inside is taken care of, that you are sleeping, exercising, doing a lot of spiritual work. So you don't necessarily have to believe in a religion, but having a spiritual practice like meditating or journaling. Oh my god, you got, oh, I'm not supposed to put this on the floor. That's my Japa Mala beads. Journal. I know this doesn't look very aesthetic. I got this for £3. This has been one of the best things ever. If you start journaling, you will be shocked at just how much you can understand about yourself, and you can work on it so that when you actually do meet people that you vibe with, you're not going to be like in that negative state. And once you put all the things that you're worrying about or all the negative things you have towards like maybe being lonely or not having friends or not connecting with people, once you start putting them in these books, there's like these underlying themes that get revealed to you, and you realize, oh, I feel like this in this situation because of this, or I've noticed that I feel like this every time this happens. This you need to get yourself a cheap dinky one, okay? £3, lifesaver. Anyways, I'm not saying that that's like a one for all, but that's what really helped me. I never thought I'd be sort of like journal girl. Sorry, I just like pushed out my pencil while I was doing that. I never thought of myself as a journal girl, but this has been one of the best things that I've ever done. So in the morning, I try to answer a couple questions. So I'll be like, how do I feel today? Hold up, I wrote it down. How are you feeling today? What's working right now? What would be better? What was your favorite part about yesterday? And how did I show kindness yesterday? And then at nighttime, I'll just write down anything that I want to, like anything that happened during the day that was really upsetting me, something that I'm trying to like figure out. And then I'll also try to have 5 things that I'm really grateful for. It's also just a really good opportunity, like I said, to get to know yourself and do things that you like. You will find out that you are your best friend. Like all those things that you want to do, you can take yourself to go do it if financials allow. But like you can take yourself on a trip to Spain for the first time. You know, you don't need to wait for people. You can take yourself to a concert. You can go to the movies. You can take yourself to a cute little restaurant that you always wanted to go to, or a day out. Like life is not stopping for you. Just, I'm doing this as like reenacting a clock. I don't know why I do these things. Life is not stopping for you. While you're sitting there being alone, it's still moving. The months will pass, the years will pass, and you will not have done anything fun because you're just waiting for people to do it with you. Okay, you don't need to do that. You can do these things on your own, and who knows, you may even meet people when you start going out and doing things. So yeah, just make it so you enjoy your own solitude, so that when the right people come, when the right tribe comes, you will have done all this inner work and you'll be the best person you can be. Another thing too with the inner work is sometimes realizing that you may have a big role in why you are lonely or feeling lonely. So for instance, like I was mentioning earlier, if you're someone who has social anxiety or you're more reserved or more quiet, even if you have good intentions, sometimes your body language can be conveyed in a way that makes people think that you don't like them, or that you're not interested in what they have to say. Sometimes our body language, because we're so like thinking of ourselves and how uncomfortable we may be, that we do give off those vibes. Really nervous about eye contact, if we're worried about what our face looks like, or if we're smiling too much, or if we're making too much eye contact, or if our body language, like sometimes we'll cross our arms because we're sort of like protecting ourselves, or you know, like just certain things that you may be doing that you're unaware of. And I've noticed that for myself, like that's something that I notice that I unintentionally do. I have a resting bitch face, but the anxiousness along with that, like the whole like not not really making eye contact, like not really having like open body language has made me come across as the biggest B word. I've been working on that. I've been really doing good because I've realized this in myself. And you know what? This TED Talk really opened my eyes to it. I will put it right here and I'll link it down below, because body language I think is one of the biggest things that makes people not connect, because we assume things about what the other person is thinking. When you're feeling lonely, your perception of the world can become quite negative. That's one of the dangers I feel like with being lonely, and that's why I really strongly recommend, if you do feel lonely, that you try to work on it, try to work on yourself, try to put yourself in situations where you can meet new people, make new friends. I experienced it briefly. My perception of the world became really negative during the COVID lockdowns when I was just living on my own, and you know, when I wasn't meeting anyone and I was stuck in this like apartment just starting uni and I didn't have anyone to talk to. Like, all you see when you're alone is the news. All the social interaction you get is like, not including people that you're speaking with over the phone, but you know, customer service people, like if you go to the grocery store, the cashier, or somebody's delivering food for you. Like, if you only interact with people in customer service, you have no idea what they're going through that day, so they may not be super open to talking to you, or they may not be super friendly because you don't know what customer they just dealt with. But when you're only dealing with customer service, it can really just mess with you as a person. So it's really important that you do not isolate yourself to that point if you can. Going through that experience, I don't wish that on anybody. But I also wouldn't change it, because it's really changed my perspective on people in general. Like, you know, if you go to a grocery store and there's like an elderly person that just like strikes up a conversation with you about something, and they just seem like they really want to talk, like, you know, I always think to myself, what if I'm the only social interaction they're having all day? Like, I just want to be kind, you know, I want to be like some light in somebody else's world. Why am I getting teary-eyed? If you are somebody who's going through that right now, and you are starting to feel like a little bit negative because maybe like you're really isolated, or you're just really lonely and you haven't had really many positive experiences recently, just realize that you are going through that for a reason. I really do think that you will come out as a better person, because you will be more kind, you will be more considerate of other people. Yeah, I think that's the word, considerate. Like, you don't have to be a pushover. You don't have to talk to anyone you don't want to talk to, but just being kind. Realizing like not to take things personally, because you really don't know what someone's going through. Oh, also too, I also noticed that the social media that I would consume, like through Instagram, TikTok, the kind of movies that I was watching or reality shows I was watching, being mindful of what you consume, because what you consume becomes you, becomes your thoughts, becomes your perception on the world. So if you're constantly viewing something that you don't like, or brings up negative emotions, that should be a clear signal to you to not further consume it, even if you think it's important. Because if you feel like you can't change something at this particular point in time, and you keep seeing it over and over and over and over and over again, it's gonna wear you down. Like, for example, the news can really wear you down, because you really don't have control over anything that goes on in the world except for you and your immediate circle, right? You can't control an earthquake happening and unaliving a bunch of people, especially if it's over there. You can't go like help, you can't volunteer. So if you find yourself being affected personally by media, that includes influencers. If you find yourself comparing yourself to influencers, not agreeing with a lot of the things that they say, or the things that they say are really hurtful to you, or like, you know, you don't have to follow people. You can literally curate your feed to be very positive. Be mindful as well with like things like TikTok and Instagram and Reddit, because when you're looking at something, you're really only seeing like a sliver of the population's opinion. Sometimes looking at an echo chamber. So if you're reading something and everybody's agreeing with you, you're probably in an echo chamber. If you're on a thing and you disagree with something and everyone's agreeing or everyone's disagreeing, you're probably in an echo chamber. So be careful with that. Try not to let social media influence what the real world is truly like. You know, that's been something that's been really just like, such a relief for me. And I've found so much happiness in like being more mindful of consuming things not consuming negative things. I noticed that I had just a different feeling. Like it felt good to just view content that was more uplifting and helpful. If you can't unfollow people directly, like say if you know these people in real life, the mute button is a lifesaver. Okay, so I've been ranting for a really long time. I really hope that this has helped somebody because I'm literally at like over an hour of talking. My hair is flat now. I'm pretty sure my makeup is like just destroyed at this point. We're gonna get to like what are the best ways to deal with loneliness. So I know I've like kind of touched on it a little bit, like talking about inner work and like meditating, journaling, being mindful of the media that you consume. But I'm gonna go through what you guys have suggested because you guys probably have some really good advice. Someone said to not shove your thoughts under the rug, not to deal, but instead understand yourself. Yes. I'm telling you, get this journal. Someone said, a therapist told me there's no thing that's gonna make you happy. Only you can find it in you. Try work on a new hobby. Do things you enjoy and keep your mind busy. Remembering you never are. You always have you. Why don't you count you as a person who's there? That is the cutest advice I've ever heard. I love that. That's so true. You know what else? I'm just gonna add on to what this person said. I feel like I'm never really alone anymore because I believe that there's something else out there. Like I don't believe in a particular religion, but I feel like there's this connectedness, you know, with like plants. I sound like such a hippie, but like, you know, like this is alive, for instance, this beautiful plant, or like this beautiful plant. You're never alone because these guys are alive, you know? And I feel connected to nature. That's something that really, really helped me. I used to go into nature and feel like I was just an observer looking at the trees or like looking at the birds. But then I realized that you are nature. We are nature. Every fiber of our being is borrowed from the earth. Like the iron, minerals, calcium flowing through our blood and in our bones, and we're like more bacteria than we are human cells. Like there's a bunch of bacteria in our mouths and our eyes and our skin and our guts, and like everything about us is borrowed from the earth. Like we are earth. Where was I going with this? I sound like a hippie, but like, I don't feel like alone sometimes because I feel like, you know what, I am earth. When I pass away, I'm gonna go back to earth, you know. Is that weird? I don't know if that's weird. Or, oh, another really good quote too. If you ever feel imposter syndrome, I think it was from Maya Angelou where she says, I walk in as one, but I stand as 10,000. Where like she literally means she walks into a room as herself, but she brings all of her ancestors with her that never had the opportunity to be in a room like she did or have a voice like she did. I always think that too, like when I'm, you know, walking about, I think of like my family members who have passed away and didn't have the opportunity to like do the things that I'm doing now. Everybody is so similar, but unique in their own way. Like we all experience very similar things. Like we're all going through something. We're all experiencing pain. We're all experiencing happiness, sadness, hardships. And even if you feel like you're the only one on earth going through something, there's been millions of people that have gone through the same thing as you right at this moment, right in this time, and also people before you and people after you. So you gotta remember you are not the only one. And just, yeah, I feel like knowing that too has made me feel more calm around people in public because I just think, oh yeah, like I'm not different. I'm like everybody, you know, even though I am different personality wise, maybe looks wise, I'm the same. I think that too with the plants. The plants and the animals. We are all the same. We are all one. I'm joking, but I actually do think that. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent here. Oh my god, this is so beautiful. Knowing that many great artists have been, and in their loneliness, they have produced masterpieces. Starting a hobby, preferably one you don't do in your home, like outside, like sports, volunteering. That's really good advice. Meet up with friends, family, call someone or catch up on Zoom, etc. Or even if you have family around you that you just don't really make an effort to go see, or you feel too busy to see, just try to make more of an effort to see them because you will feel a lot better. Animals make me feel better. Animals make me feel better too. I thank Carl and Waffles for making me feel not lonely because I always have someone to talk to when I get home. Ooh, comfort movie, glass of wine, if I'm mentally prepared to see someone, hang out. Yes, I like that. Never overthink and try to do things that involve outdoors and things you deserve, like getting iced coffee. Go get that pumpkin spice latte, okay? It is now almost October. Probably when I post this, it'll be October. Treat yourself, okay? Treat yourself within your means, but let yourself have like a little happy treat every day. I like to have a dessert every day. I like to have something that tastes good because I deserve it and you deserve it too. Salsa class, that would be fun. Flat sharing, attention to hobbies, pouring energy into making your life full. Not just focusing on friends. Friends are just like a little fraction of your life. You know, obviously you need like 1 or 2 or 3 really good friends. People to like fall back on for support, to fall on you for support, to like make fun memories with. But they're not your entire life. Like, have you ever seen that little pie chart where people like fraction everything into their life? You gotta kind of balance everything. You can't just focus all of your energy into how lonely you are and like how you don't have friends, when you could really be having it so good in other areas. Like maybe you're financially good, maybe you are doing good health-wise, you know, things like that. You gotta think and be grateful for what you have, not what you don't have. Gratitude journal, girl. Take a shower, listen to music, work out, cook, clean, skincare routine. That rhymed. YouTube, people you followed for years are a comfort. I hope I'm a comfort to people. Okay. So I think I'm gonna end this here. I feel like I've said a whole lot of a lot, but I said a whole lot of nothing at the same time. Like I feel like I've literally cussed the surface. But I hope that this video has made you realize that if you are lonely or if you don't have friends, it's not always your fault. Trying to realize where there's certain situations where you're hindering yourself in your growth and others where you have to be more compassionate and realize that it's just situational. You may not have everything figured out right now, you may be feeling a bit lonely, but you can get out of it. You can work on it. You can be happy in your situation. It's all how you look at things. And always know that the only constant thing in life is change, okay? You may be lonely now, you may not have a lot of friends now, or you may have a lot of friends that you feel lonely with, but things will change. You'll change, the people around you will change, maybe you'll move somewhere. You know, you never know what's gonna happen. So I hope that this video has given you like something to feel good about. So yeah, that was my first episode of TELLURIC Talks. So my next one will probably be in a month from now or a month and a bit from now. I have a couple topics that I want to talk about, but let me know down below what other kind of like advice videos or just certain topics you want me to discuss next. So like I said, it's called TELLURIC Talks. So of relating to the earth, of or relating to the earth. Oh my god, I don't even know the definition of this word. Hold up. Of or relating to the earth, terrestrial. So you can literally give me any topic you want. So I was thinking more in terms of like, who knows, maybe I want to talk about animals one episode, or like problem in science, or a problem with like the one I made with Carl, keeping chameleons as pets thing, you know, like things like that. Or I was thinking of making one about like veganism maybe. I was thinking about talking about childhood trauma, getting over it, because I've recently had to go through a lot of like work within myself because I didn't realize I was holding on to so much like anger and sadness from mine. So if anybody wants advice with that, I definitely could try my best to help. I'm not an expert, but I'd like to talk about that maybe. Really just let me know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week for another video. And if you're only here for the TELLURIC Talks, I will see you in a month. Bye! Oh, I forgot to turn on my little lights. No! Because I turned them off while I was charging my battery. Lame.